Hello everyone, and I hope you're doing well, and a very warm welcome to the Global Product Leadership Festival 2026 by the Product Leaders Forum in partnership with the Institute of Product Leadership. Now, whether you're joining us from India, the United States, Europe, or the Middle East, or anywhere else in the world, we are really delighted to have you here with us today. My name is Vishal, as you can see on the screen, and I will be your host for today's exciting evening. Let me just quickly go back to the screen. Yeah. So, the Global Product Leadership Festival brings together practitioners, product leaders, designers, and innovators to discuss what is actually working across three focused weeks on AI product design, AI product management, and AI product leadership. Through a masterclass, a fireside chat, and an interactive Ask Me Anything, leadership discussions, panel discussions, and a lot more. Now, this week theme is AI product design, and we have some amazing speaker lineup with some really exciting session. Now, before we begin, let me take a minute to introduce the organization. Product Leaders Forum is a non-profit community that was founded in the year 2014 with a simple vision to bring together product leaders who believe in learning, sharing knowledge, and helping one another grow. Now, over the years, PLF has hosted more than 40 plus conferences, 100 plus community events, and built a thriving network of over 6,000 plus product leaders, positively impacting more than 10,000 plus professionals. We have had the privilege of welcoming speakers from organizations such as Google, Microsoft, Oracle, Philips, and many other leading companies across the globe. Today, we are proud to continue that journey in partnership with the Institute of Product Leadership through the Global Product Leadership Festival 2026. Moving ahead, basically, let's take a quick look at what's planned for today's evening. Okay, we will begin with an insightful masterclass session with us, and the guest speaker has already joined with us today, followed by a fireside chat exactly after 45 to 50 minutes. And after the 50 minutes gets over, we will be having an exclusive or an interactive Ask Me Anything session. Each session has been carefully designed to give you practical insights that you can take back to your teams and apply immediately. Folks, before we begin, just a quick note, this isn't just a webinar, okay? It's a conversation. If you have a question, feel free to post it in the Q&A throughout the session, in the Zoom Q&A throughout the session, and we will take them up once the speaker concludes. We will love to have your camera on. It always makes the session a little more engaging. Folks, so requesting everyone to please switch on your camera as well. Promise we won't judge. Thank you so much. Now, without any further delay, let's get started. All right, then, folks, let me kickstart this session and introducing our first speaker of the day, Mr. Karthik Gunasekaran. Mr. Karthik Gunasekaran, he's an MBA, is a global product and technology executive with a proven track record of leading high impact teams and building successful products in the tech industry. He is currently the VP of AI and software products at PMI Inclusive, a global edtech company. Now, before joining PMI, Karthik has been a VP of product at several impactful technology organizations in education like Udemy Inclusive, Kaplan Inclusive, and ACT Inclusive. Karthik is also a member of the board of trustees at Capella University, advising the president on AI and other emerging technologies initiative in EdTech. At heart, Karthik is an engineer and started his career working for Honeywell. Intrigued and curious about new technologies and its application, he became a tech entrepreneur by becoming a founding employee of a mobile-first education company. We're very, very glad to have you here with us today, Karthik. Thank you for joining in. All right. Having said, the stage is all yours now. And pausing here if I'm stopping my screen. Just check that if you're able to share your screen for the matter.
Awesome. Yeah, sure. I'm gonna share my. I need permission from you to
Oh,
share.
sure. So done. Absolutely.
Can I? Okay. All right. Can people see my screen now?
Oh, absolutely. Good to go.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Vishal, for that introduction. And also, again, happy to be participating in the Institute of Product Leaders and the Product Leaders Forum for the very first time. I'm based in Boston, and right after this presentation, it's a good warm up for me because right after this presentation, I'm going to go into my product stand up. So I will be working on the processes that I'm just going to be presenting today, and have a pulse check on what the product status looks like. So it's a good primer for me in the first thing in the morning. All right, so The topic today that I want to present is building AI first products from the ground up. I mean, you can have a different flavor for this topic. You can call it native experiences, AI native experiences, or AI AI first design experiences. But the crux of the matter is that building AI features is something I'm pretty sure everybody is good at. Like everybody knows that for certain products we can use an AI for this. For recommendations we can use AI. For some kind of remediation I can use AI. I can have an AI based UI to have a dynamic capability that can interact with me, give me the best experience possible. But I want to go a bit of a level deep and really bring AI at the product development practice itself. And that's what I want to cover today. Redesigning the product lifecycle. So AI is your operating infrastructure and not a feature that you just built, bolt on, because this is how the profession itself, the product management profession, be it the UX researcher, UI designer, product manager, the role itself is changing, and it's quite important to get imbibe these kinds of skills for the long term viability of the profession itself, and making sure the shelf life of our skills are long term, the lifetime value is long. So the spine, the artifacts, and the measurements on how we build products using AI is going to be the most important thing. I'm going to be sharing some best practices that we have identified over the last few years of experimenting with different frontier models, and including AI first, AI centric product lifecycle in my product team. All right. So the agenda today will be like, in six moves in 30 minutes that I want to cover. The honest starting point, why siloed AI adoption stalls, which is a very chronic problem across the board. What AI first actually means, like I was saying, AI feature versus AI first. Let's be clear about what that differences are. The process spine itself, the life cycle of how AI can contribute to the SDLC, an AI powered SDLC from research to delivery and monitoring. The artifact system, what exactly is AI delivering at each stage of that SDLC lifecycle? What does that look like? Uh, the measurement and proof. How do we measure, in each stage, how is AI contributing, making my life easier, more efficient, higher quality? What does that look like? How do we measure and proof? I can share some of our real life examples, and what the measurement looks like. And finally, what product leaders should own, as part of this practice. If at all there is something, this team has to take place, it'll be in section 6, where I would like this group to walk away at the end of the session today. So let's start about the honest, starting point, right? Every transformation story starts with a flattering slide, but let's start with an unflattering one. 80% of the AI projects do fail, and it fails because of how siloed people experiment with, right? There is the AI adoption looks impressive on a slide, with different companies, but at the end of the day, in actual practice, does it really move the needle or not? If you take UX research, design, product management, there are siloed functions where AI does a really good job. Like, hey, look, I can use a prompt, and have a design come up. Hey, look, I can use a prompt, I can have my requirements document come up. But are they really talking to each other? I think that is where a lot of companies fail, and that's where we are trying to become more efficient. So look at this, like I said, three parallel experiment. Product managers are using AI, different LLMs to draft their PRDs from the research documents. The gap is that the insights live inside the product manager's chat history and doesn't really carry on to the rest of the team members. It has to go from designers, researchers, engineers, QA folks, etc. Like, do they know the context of what the product manager is working on? No. And so that's an example of a siloed function. Now, designers using generative UI tools, be it the Figma Make or Claude Design, whatever is out there, different UI tools where the prototype flows rapidly, iterate rapidly, which is great. But the gap is that the rationale never really reaches the engineering. Why did the designer iterate so many times? what was the reason the designer made a particular design in a certain format. What was the reason for that? Do the engineers know the context of that? And they should. A good product organization should make sure the context carries on to the engineers as well. And let's talk about engineers, right? The first adopters of any AI, driven tool, for code automation, using Copilot for code generation inside the IDE. Now the gap is the code is written without the product intent. Do the engineers inside the IDE have access to the design systems? Do they have access to the research documents, the product context, etc.? That's where the gap is. So these are the siloed functions we have to break down as good product leaders, and make sure there is genuine adoption, real enthusiasm, and make sure the compounding effect takes place. With such silos, the compounding will not really take place. So we need to make sure the product leaders can use AI as a compounding tool across each of these teams, and so that the SDLC gets AI powered and the context doesn't die. Rather, the handoff becomes even more value added with AI, where I know what the problem statement I'm going after. Even the engineer should be able to say, this is the problem statement the product managers identified. This is why I'm doing this way. This is why the designers designed it this way, and this is why I am coding it this way, and making sure a good product is being shipped. So these are the silos that I want to break down with an AI powered SDLC. So this is the evidence slide, right? This is from the giants like the McKinseys, who basically studied about 300 publicly traded organizations, and they found that 16 to 13% improvement in team productivity and time to market is possible with AI. About 45% improvement in the software product quality, and 80% of the top performers make sure in each of their functions there is an AI OKR, tied to their performance. Be it the product managers, designers, researchers, they need to have strong OKRs that are AI centric, tied in their performance metric. So I can confidently tell you that in terms of productivity, the gold standard is actually 30 to 35%, and we are probably at 30% in my organization when it comes to product efficiency, because the SDLC's life cycle has shrunk with higher quality, so there is further rapid iterations. So the 30% gold standard is actually possible if implemented the right way. So because at the end of the day, you should also account for the cost that is being incurred with all of these AI tools. So, with that taken into account, you should be able to see a 30% efficiency in terms of time and cost inside your product organization. So that's what this particular slide is alluding to, where there is evidence that there are companies which are successfully adopting AI, across the function and making sure it is successful to really realize the gains. So it's not a far-fetched idea to say, I can do 35% efficiency, with the AI. It's actually possible. So let's go to the second agenda item. What AI first actually means? AI feature products, add capability. Like, I'm sure every single one of us in this organization, in this particular group, has worked on some kind of an AI feature. I'm sure there are experts who have even built their own applications using Cloud Code. That's great. But I want to talk about the AI first product change, on how the work actually changes. What's the point of building an AI product if my processes are not AI powered? So let's make sure the AI is available in the process itself of building the product, so that we can build better AI first products. This is kind of clearly differentiating what the AI feature and AI first means. AI feature is having an individual tool, an individual task being automated with an AI, or an enhanced with an AI feature. And AI first means the life cycle of the product build up itself, end to end, is powered by AI. In an AI featured environment, the context lives inside the chat history. It says it's either in a Jira ticket, or a Monday.com, or in Dovetail, or siloed from the rest of the other functions like the designers, or the engineers. Whereas the beauty of AI is that it can carry the context throughout your process. So it lives in various artifacts, and I'll tell you what those artifacts are in the subsequent slides. but AI powered artifacts that are created and handed off in every step so that it carries all the way from research till engineering development. An AI feature again shows in the implementation time. Where AI shows up is how long did it take for me to build this particular recommendation feature? How and is it good in that implementation? That is a feature centric mindset. Whereas in an AI first approach, the AI itself is available right from discovery till post launch and even within the product. So that's where AI first comes in. How do we measure success? This is measuring that particular feature in an AI feature environment, the tool usage, the licenses. Is there more engagement, retention in that particular feature? That's where those are the measurement metrics there. But when it comes to AI first, I'm looking at cycle time. How many iterations of the SDLC did I go through in 2 weeks? Maybe it used to be maybe one or two. Now it could be four or five. How many defects were captured in that SDLC lifecycle? How many back and forth happen? What is my throughput? What was my baseline before and what is my baseline after implementing AI in my process? Has the number of iterations increased with higher quality output? That's an example of what the success would look like in an AI first environment as opposed to individual features being measured for their success. The ownership of an AI feature might probably rely inside a product team. You can call it a product innovation team, etc. But in an AI first environment, the entire product team. I know I said product leadership. I'm looking at every product manager as the product leader. Every single product leader owns the particular process and making sure AI powered processes are being enabled throughout the company. There is more nurturing of AI talent. There is more learning and development happening within the organization so that we truly become AI first. So that to me is a difference between AI featured and an AI first team in my mind. So three shifts that need to happen to make an AI first product team. From tools to spine, we need to stop asking about which AI tool to buy. Every other tool that we use in the product organization has an AI feature come up. So let's stop asking about which tool to buy. Everything is expensive, and there is no point just buying an expensive feature that is in one particular function if it doesn't connect to the rest of the organization. I would say define the life cycle first and then decide where AI can contribute in each of the states. So map out the current product processes from research till handoff to the engineering teams. Make sure that is mapped out well, and then think about how can the process be enhanced with AI. And the mindset, the shift should be from prompts to artifacts. I mean, it was not so long ago, like about 2 or 3 years ago. I still remember I did an interview with with Shraddha, the famous the comedian on Instagram. I did an interview with her about 3 years back when I was at Udemy, where she asked me, "Is prompt engineering the next big skill that we all should be learning?" And it was a buzzword, right? Everybody were talking about prompts and etc. But in less than 2 years, I did mention that time, like, prompt engineering is going to become a basic skill where it's going to be like, do you know how to use a Windows operating system? That's how basic it's going to be, and that's exactly where it is now. From prompts, we need to move on to artifacts, because prompts as such is a disposable skill. What we need are their sound artifacts, like the .md files. Is there a PDF file? Is there a Excel file? What kind of documents am I creating using AI that can be handed off to the next step, next step, next step? Because at the end of the day, that is the outcome of what you're doing or what you're ideating inside a product team. So prompts as such are disposable, and people can learn that, but the prompt lives within you, and artifacts can be translated across the team. So shift that mind from prompts to creating robust artifacts. And then from adoption to accountability, right? Having all these dashboards about, look at 80% of my teams are using AI tools, the engagement is high on Claude and ChatGPTs or Jira's AI, Rovo, whatever, it doesn't really help. AI needs to be integrated with sound metrics so that every product leader is accountable for things like cycle time. Is there defects? Are the defects reducing? Is the throughput increasing? Is the quality increasing? cost, time, that kind of measurement, that is where you own the metric. It's not about AI adoption, rather it is what am I driving with AI. So have an outcome oriented mindset so that there is accountability with AI adoption. So that's the third mind shift I would want people to do so we become truly an AI first organization. So let's dive a bit deeper into this. So these are the seven stages of product development lifecycle. This is my team centric, and we have specifically chosen Claude as the AI companion to power our SDLC with Claude. So it could look different in other organizations. Maybe you want to use ChatGPT or a Gemini tool or whatever. Like that's imitated. This is an example of the frontier model that we are using to power our life cycle. But make it applicable to however you see fit in whichever tool you use. But the template remains the same. Map out the SDLC lifecycle, and this is how our lifecycle looks. We have research that happens at the beginning, and when research happens, you think about all the user interviews that are being generated. We do hundreds and thousands of interviews out there, and we need to summarize all of that. Think about what it used to be before AI. Like it was just impossible to just summarize 100 interviews or 1,000 interviews, or it'll take several weeks for a product manager or a UX researcher to go through that. So today, we have tools like Dovetail AI, which can create a summary of what it looks like, and then it needs to go into the requirements document for PRD creations. Then it goes to several design iterations, and the team signs off. It gets handed over to an AI developer toolkit, and then there is measurement and validation. But what is exactly happening, in all of these? Each of these functions have a tool with an AI-enabled toolkit, and the AI artifacts remain within. So now we are using Claude to basically make sure that context carries over through the creation of markdown files at each stage. Dovetail AI creates some one pager. I'm going to put it on Claude, create a markdown file, which gets handed over to the next step in the requirement step, so that the research context carries over into the product manager's function, where the product manager is creating a bunch of PRDs and user requirements, which also gets added to the .md file. And then it goes into the design iterations file, where the designers take on the requirements, the research, and is able to have the right prompts to have the initial designs created. Now that also gets put onto Claude, and now you have another .md file which carries the research, the requirements, and the design parameters carried over to the engineers now, which is getting plugged into the IDE, and the design system should already be plugged into the IDE so that the any AI tool you use has the context of what your design systems look like, what a design template looks like. And engineers carry the context. If you think about it, the power of that MD file now would be, as an engineer, I can see everything from why this feature was built. Hey, this feature looks ridiculous. Why are we building this? They can go back and see that the research suggests that a user was facing a particular problem inside when they were conducting their interviews, and the engineer gets the context. Okay, now I see the problem that they're trying to solve. So this is how I can code it better. Maybe this is how I should approach the development of this particular feature. So that kind of context can be carried over in such SDLCs, and that's kind of what we are mapping out, and how Claude is helping us in carrying that context forward from research to measurement and validation. So again, this is a bit more in depth about what each of the six phases looks like. It's basically mapping what we did before: the discover phase, the define phase, the design, develop, test, and launch and monitor. So the insights from the discover phase in a structured context is being showed into the next phase, which is the defining phase, where, like I said, the product managers use tools like Miro and Copilot to create their PRDs. And then the designers use the Figma Make kind of tools. The developers use, again, Copilot for for the development, and then the testers, the QA folks use their own tools like the Code Rabbits or again, GitHub Copilots to do their quality checks. And then once you launch, you have all these dynamic dashboards to say how well the product is doing. So in each step, the context needs to be carried forward instead of being siloed and within each of those functions. So that is where, again, Cloud Design has been helping. So the artifact system, which is what I was again talking about, the .md file, you see at the beginning, an overview.md file gets created at the first step, which is the research or divining phase. And then that overview.md file gets carried over to the next phase for the product managers to create the PRDs. What are the requirements? What kind of requirements do I need? What is the acceptance criteria? Clear, validated criteria. So if you think about the volume, if I do over a period of year, I have collected so much of research, I have about thousands of interviews, I can all of a sudden get all of that context using AI, and carry it over across the spectrum. Previously, if when the context doesn't carry over with AI, the research team would be at the forefront of all kinds of research where thousands of interviews are being conducted, and none of the other folks in the product lifecycle would even know that research happened. That research would be siloed within the UX researcher function. So now, with tools like Claude and the artifacts like the markdown files that we create, there is the sharing of context throughout the function. So this way, the whole product team gets more empowered with knowledge about the user problems, knowledge about the new innovations happening. What are the new things the customers want? I don't want to build something in a silo. So the product team gets more innovative with such sharing of context. And then the requirements.md file gets created, which gets handed off to the designers. And now the designers are again looking at both the research and the PRDs, the acceptance criteria. Now they can frame the problems properly and use a few prompts to come up with a few versions of the designs in near real time, so that product managers and the researchers can club together and come up with the best next step to create a good design brief, a good design spec. And now, once you finalize that particular design, you create the design spec.md file in that particular stage. And then finally, you create what's called a spec.md file, which is basically a culmination of everything from the previous artifacts created: the overviews, the requirements, the design brief, and the design specifications. So you have the spec.md file, which gets plugged into the IDE for the engineer in the next sprint where the person picks up that particular ticket. And then the engineering team all of a sudden looks at a highly robust requirements document that has clear design specifications, articulated and grounded with good research. Every single attribute has a research assigned to it, so that the engineers don't have to really go back and ask about why are we doing this, what exactly do you want. Rather, the context that's being shared is very powerful because of the spec.md file, which is directly plugging into the IDE. That way, the context is not lost. So tomorrow, a product manager or a researcher who did the particular research, let's say the person quits or gets hit by a truck, we want to make sure the team doesn't suffer. I hope nobody gets hit by a truck, but just saying, if the person disappears, the context should live in these markdown files throughout that process. So that way, the everybody from the researchers till the engineers share the context and have higher quality output to build the right product for the right problems to solve and for the right users. Yeah. So, and like I said, the mindset shifts. Like artifacts, what I just mentioned, are the ones that can compound, because the markdown files only become more and more powerful with more and more context that you are able to share with Claude or whatever tool you're using. Prompting is a very siloed function where prompts are disposable. Some people must be really good at prompting, and you can't expect the next person to have the same level of sophistication in prompting. So prompts are really disposable and creates a lot of silos. You can't expect, hey, I did this research. Why don't you use a bunch of prompts to create a PRDs, which is what's happening, a lot more today. So prompts are disposable, artifacts compound. I want to make sure people drive that, in their practice, so that sound products can be created with an AI SDLC lifecycle. So again, this is again kind of saying how powerful these artifacts can do. From validated intent to building product prototypes in a matter of hours, as opposed to what used to take several weeks with siloed functions. Vishal, how am I running on time? I know we started a few minutes after.
Oh, we have time. It's 32 right now. As per IST, we have another 7 minutes more.
7 minutes? Okay, fine.
Remaining 5 minutes, we can go up for the questions Q&A format. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, cool. Yeah. All right. And there's another slight flavor that my team deals with, in the AI SDLC lifecycle, because we are a global organization, and we have a function as part of my product team called LangOps, which is language operations. So what does LangOps do is any product that we create, be it a course or a piece of software for an LMS experience or a learning experience that we build, needs to be available in 10 different languages throughout the globe in near real time. So you can't be like, oh, I'm going to have it translated over several months for this particular product, etc. That's not going to happen. So we use language operations, which is a bunch of sophisticated LLM orchestration and AI centric tools that translate, be it a course, a certification, a UI experience, a website, customer care, initiatives, thought leadership articles, which are basically research that we do. All of these will be translated in real time, and not just translated, also localized. Right, the UI needs to be generative in a sense, because there are languages which run from right to left and left to right, which is the normal one, but there is a right to left language as well. There are the word shouldn't break. The UI should be smart enough to know that this is one word. You can't just break the word in between and put it down on a mobile or an iPad, etc. So how do we make it smart at scale, right? So that is where we use a bunch of AI, its own new subject, but think about at scale, right? Without an AI SDLC lifecycle process, this particular function alone would take somewhere between a few months, and it's going to be very expensive if you do all of these manually. So localization, especially in a world where we are more and more globalized today, is quite important to have LangOps as well as part of your AI SDLC, so that the version of the product that you are delivering when engineers deliver the product, it gets plugged into the LangOps lifecycle to make it more real time in with translations and localizations. So that's where this particular slide comes in. But it's a very exciting unique step in our SDLC lifecycle as we make these products go global. Fifth one, the fifth agenda item, like I said, is measurement and proof, right? So I measured in three steps, in three big KPIs: speed, quality, and efficiency. Again, efficiency in terms of the same number of people doing more work, efficiency in terms of time, cost, etc., which kind of ties with the speed. But these are the key three KPIs that you should be focused on: speed, quality, efficiency. This is kind of like a generic thing for any AI adoption or any AI processes. This is the metric to be followed. And like I said, this is a benchmark again from McKinsey's, the GitHub research, and Gartner's on 30% efficiency is the gold standard, like I mentioned. 55%, the developers find it much more useful. There is 55% efficiency that's being driven with, if Google and Meta can drive such efficiencies, then, we can too. And how many hours is it saving developers on average? Like 6 hours. Like we are probably at about 3 to 4 hours in time savings per developer per week, but six is the gold standard. Like it's a journey that we'll have to go through, but I can confidently say that about 3 to 4 hours in practice is actually happening, where my engineers can actually focus on other innovative exploration. Like I would want to see what's coming up in the next round of AI iterations. Someone needs to be playing with the fables or the mythos and make sure how that plugs into our practice. That's the kind of time savings which engineers can focus on. So what product leaders own? This is probably the area where, if at all people walk away with some things, from this masterclass, I would want, product leaders to own this. Four lessons from me, leading this practice. Integration beats adoption. Like, don't hammer on, are you using AI in your own function? If you're a product leader, hammer more on integrating those AI tools across the function. I think that is one of the most important things, because AI adoption in silos will only fail. You cannot justify the cost that it takes to, power each of these AI tools. But whereas an AI as a systems function works really well. Um, and again, philosophy matters, right? Like, I mean, my philosophy is a people philosophy. I think, if you think about all of these AI adoption happening and then layoffs happening across the spectrum, especially the big tech companies, I think that's really it's really a bad point of view, because smaller companies, mid-size and smaller companies with the same headcount can do a lot more, is how I see it. That's the way to think about how is it amping my current workforce to do more, as opposed to, can I just cut down on the people to do the same amount of work, which doesn't really do. I think for the mid-size and small companies, it shouldn't be thought of as a efficiency in terms of headcount philosophy, whereas it should be more about productivity gains, high quality outputs, as opposed to trying to get my overhead down as a result. So that philosophy really matter. So how do I finish faster, and how can I do more with the same amount of work first? That should be the one. The design spec, when I mentioned the design specs are .md file creation, there is still a not so sound AI native solution yet. I'm sure the designers will agree to this. It is there is a little bit of labor intensive work when it comes to designs, because designing is not just yeah, prompting and getting a initial design is really good, but it doesn't really do justice to what the designers do. It's a lot more complicated. There are so many aspects of design, the human element, the accessibility element, the localization element, all of these need to be taken care of. So I'm not going to lie if I tell you, oh yeah, the design specification thing is completely solved by AI, and that's not true. We are working, figuring out new practices, new ways of engaging with AI to come up with design specifications. But there is a little bit of exploration to be done, and that's a work in progress. Measurement should be a non-negotiable. You should absolutely not build anything that you cannot measure. You should, if you can't measure, don't even think about building it. Build, integrate, etc. with measurement, especially with AI goals. Make sure your product managers, your product team, the designers, etc. have AI-centric goals in their performance metric, for their evaluations. Make sure every single integration of AI has those cycle time, defects monitoring, throughput monitoring, etc. taking place. So that's how you build sound AI practices. So as a product leader, again, summarizing this, you should own these three, things. The process spine, the product leader should look at the AI SDLC as a whole, as opposed to individual functions. The artifact systems, what kind of MD files? Like the markdown files that I mentioned is what works for us. Maybe there is something unique that might work for your team. Think about that artifact system as opposed to the prompting system. The artifact system is the most important thing to keep in mind for true AI first approaches. And then the outcome loop, like I said, the instrumentation needs to be there to measure and soundly measure what the outputs look like in terms of speed, quality, efficiency. So that's going to be quite important. So own these three things. And in practice, I would say, the first 30 days, a new product leader getting in an organization, or you want to start afresh with an AI first approach, map the baseline. You need to know what the baseline is so that you know what you're going after. So once you adopt AI, you can look back at the baselines and say, this is what the efficiency looks like from my baseline. Or if it didn't work, you should be practical about it. Maybe there is something wrong in how I integrated it, so maybe I need to go back and reintegrate this. So look at the baseline. Standardize the context. Like I said, the context carrying is the most important thing in this whole process. So make sure the context carries over, and there is instrumentation at scale so that people can monitor at every step what exactly is happening. So Yeah, I mean, like I said, again, this is all the bigger picture. We are early in this whole journey. There are so many new features, new AI enhancements coming in. So for true AI adoption to take place, we should think about it in the systems function as opposed to siloed function. And yeah, the window is real. Like, it's narrowing. Every company that adopts it at scale, as a system, is going to become the winner, as opposed to building an AI feature which is probably a very commoditized thing today. A company that adopts AI first approach within its SDLC is going to be the winner when it comes to shipping products. So think about where your bottlenecks are. What are the biggest bottlenecks? What your current life cycle looks like, and how changing when AI has full context can really transform your product organization. So that would be how I would end this. I hope the presentation was helpful, but I'll be happy to take some, calls, some questions if people have it.
Sure. Thank you so much, Karthik. Karthik, I see just one name who has been popping a lot of questions, asking a set of questions. I requesting Chandra Moli. If you can just raise your hand, I can quickly unmute you and you can directly have the questions asked with the speaker. Okay, I'm seeing people who have raised their hand. Chandra Moli, good to go.
Yeah. Hey, Karthik. Uh, so I was really intrigued with a lot of the points that you brought out. Though one of the challenges that I see that is the largely the trustworthiness on it, because clearly we have found that there is benefit, but then teams are like slightly reluctant because of n number of issues, probably about security, probably about how would AI treat their data, because sometimes a lot of the data that is being fed into AI tends to expose those that data, because it has to give those responses. So I just wanted to know your thoughts on this, that you know how do we make sure that AI is working for us rather than against us?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I think I think there are two things you brought up. One is the reluctancy for on using AI itself, and you said security. I would think of it as two things. One is the job security itself, and then there is the whole AI security as well. But
Yeah.
I should say like the job security thing is actually something we should, as product leaders, highlight because
Yeah.
it's a problem. It's definitely a problem because a lot of some of the big tech has definitely set some bad examples on that. But in our organization, for example, we do tackle that by saying it's not about reducing headcount. It is about increasing how much more you can do with the same amount of hours spent because AI is able to assist you. That's kind of how I we try to break it down. But that is a change management initiative which takes a lot of communication from the leaders top down saying, hey, this is more about efficiency buildup. And, we're not thinking about laying up. That's something that I try to do. And we as an organization also embrace that that's not our goal with AI. Our goal is to increase the workload. That's one. But when it comes to AI security, so I mean, there's only there's only so much you can do in a sense that you should trust a Cloud enterprise license, which at least claims that it's not gonna surface your data out there, right? There are ChatGPT enterprise licenses now for organizations. I think that security, keeping those IT and data security infrastructure siloed within your organization, making sure the compliance is true. You have the right infrastructure to do the computes. I don't know if you use an AWS environment or an Azure Foundry. There are ways to make sure the data is stays within you, and you have the control over what you want to erase or how you want to what you want to do with the data. I think those are things that will probably have to be made transparent to people because many of them do not understand what kind of security infrastructure are in place before we sign up for these enterprise licenses. I hope people aren't using their personal cloud licenses, etc., to do any of these enhancements. They should be working on the enterprise licenses, I think. Yeah, and that's also part of the part on the leaders because the more we restrict to say, oh no, you can't use Cloud Enterprise, you gotta wait, we are gonna evaluate if this is worth it or not. The more you restrict, people are just gonna use some Cloud or some Perplexity or some kind of tool out there. So let's instead just embrace to say, hey, listen, we are using an AI tool. We are gonna use Cloud Enterprise, and this is what we are giving you a way to play with AI. So so make sure there is a safer environment, for people to play with AI, because the more you restrict, that is when people become risky. Put company artifacts on their personal accounts on AI, and proprietary information starts showing up. That's kind of how I would tackle it. But the people issue is something that will take time. I think it requires a lot of communication and change management in place.
Yeah. Thanks so
Thank you.
much. This is a very insightful response. Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
Karthik. May I connect with you on LinkedIn?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
All of you. I would love
Yeah.
to connect with all of you on LinkedIn for sure. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Chandra. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Karthik, due to interest of the time, we'll take one last question. I think Anjali has been raising hand as well. Anjali,
Yeah.
I have asked you to unmute. You can go ahead.
Okay. So the question is related to your slide, which is AI product manager kit. So you were taking an example of Claude. So end to end, it's explain everything, all the steps and everything. So how did you did that? Basically, it's that my question. Say for example, I am using Claude and ChatGPT both, but those are all my personal licenses. I can say if I want to do something with that, so how I can do that?
I mean, using your personal license, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, right now it's there, but I have a Copilot of my enterprise, but Copilot doesn't give me that good result right now.
Yeah.
So I switch between Copilot, ChatGPT, and Claude.
Yeah. So advisory is that do not put any of your company information into your personal.
No, not company
I will
information.
say that.
Just if I want to do something about my personal, like I want to drive
Yes.
something, I want to build something from scratch.
Correct. Yeah. So with a product life cycle, you want to do.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll tell you what our journey was, right? So what we first did is that, again, like I said, mapped out the current life cycle, what a product life cycle looks like, and each function uses their own vendor, right? Like there is UX research use Dovetail, for example. Designers use Figma. Product managers might be using an ADO or something like that. And each of these vendors have an AI tool enabled. So what is the artifact that's being generated? If I use my AI on Dovetail, what am I getting? What is the output? If I use my AI in ADO, what is the output? In Jira, what is the output? So we kind of mapped that first. And then we said, listen, the problem is that, each of these vendors are not individually connecting. So we need a frontier model tool to connect Dovetail to a Figma, Figma to an ADO to the IDE, etc. So what is that tool, right? We first came up with that. And then what I did was made sure first in that life cycle, the UX researcher and the product manager, they both interacted with Claude to see how can I optimize my Dovetail AI document? How can I put it on Claude to create a markdown file and make it a skill to say this is a research skill. Like, I need to synthesize the research information in a particular way for this particular product manager to create some PRD documents. So work with, pick two functions, research product or product design or design engineering, and have them work on what a proper markdown file that can be handed off to the next step looks like. So in this case, I made the research and the product managers work together, and they were able to create, this is the handoff document, a PRD sound PRD document that meets my skills using Claude, and I created a skill out of that. And now the next step is, the product manager now has to work with the designer. So those two functions work together to say, hey, I have this PRD from Claude. What would make sense to hand off to the designer so that there is a proper, a design spec or a design requirements created from the requirements the product manager and worked with the researcher and created, right? So you start having a bunch of new UIs created with the designer. So you need to optimize through consistent experimentation at each step, and then connect the whole process.
So all this is done through a prompt, right? Or we are doing.
What's that?
Or we are creating some agents or anything. Everything is done through a prompt, right? A proper prompt, or it is we are creating an agent in the.
So yeah, you're initially starting off with a prompt, but then the moment an artifact gets created, you convert that into a skill so that you don't keep re-prompting. Rather, you enable the skill in your Claude, for example, in Claude, in your enterprise account, you enable those skills. Or if you have a portal thing, you enable the skills at each stage. So you say, I'm going to bring the research skill out there so that I can get the PRE document. I'm going to enable my design skill, which is grounded in my design system so that it can create that design output. And then towards the end, you create the spec.md file. So I enable the spec skill so that the right handoff document is out there that I can give to the engineers for their into their IDE. So that's how I think about various processes. It's a matter of experimentation. There's a bit of trial and error, but it needs to be consistent, throughout.
Okay, got it.
All right.
That helps.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anjali. Karthik, again, thank you so much for wonderful insights. Due to the interest of time, we have the next session coming up in this. And I have a small token of appreciation to share with you. This is something which PLF has decided to give it to you, a small token of appreciation for giving us your valuable insights. I'll definitely share you the soft copy of that. And thank you yet again for making yourself available and joining with us today. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody.
Karthik, as this is Sandeep here. I'm the director for PLF. I really want to thank you for this session and your time today. And it was really nice. I of course I joined in between and really nice insights that you actually presented today. Thank you very much, and we hope to continue this engagement as well. So.
Yep, glad that was helpful, Sandeep, and hopefully everybody got something to take away. Thank you, everybody, and feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to have take the interactions there. But thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Karthik.
Bye.
Bye. All right, folks. I think it's already time. It's 7:53 right now in Indian Standard Time, and while we wanted to take a break, Sandeep, what do you say? Should we take a 5 minutes of break for the people to have some sort of a coffee, maybe, because it's a 45 minutes of session. People might be tired, maybe.
Sure. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Okay. Guys, let's do one thing. Let's take a 5 minutes break over here. We are very excited for the next session, which is coming up, which is the fireside chat. It's going to be a very interesting session. So definitely please grab your coffee and we will meet in 7:59 IST time in that way. Thank you.